students. Yes, in my previous video I have covered the topics on financial planning. What's the meaning of financial planning and what are the objectives associated with financial planning? While a financial planner, at the time of preparing a plan, always he needs to keep certain objectives in his mind while preparing a plan, a blueprint with respect to the finance or the amount, how it should be raised, how it should be allocated, that is how it should be utilized, and how it should be like monitored or controlled in the organization. So in today's video I'll be explaining on the principles of a financial plan, or it can also be asked in your exams as principles of sound financial planning. And in my last video I had explained on the types of plans, where you have three types. One is short term financial plan, which is a plan which is prepared for a period of 1 year. Basically it focuses on working capital management, right? And it deals with the factor of liquidity. Whereas the second one is medium term, the financial plan. What does this medium term financial plan talk about? It is a plan which ranges between, a plan which is there between 1 to 5 years. It focuses mainly towards the working capital management by default, plus the replacement of any fixed assets of the firm. And a planner can think about the expansion and diversification under this medium term financial planning. The last one discussed was on long term financial plan, where these kind of the long term financial plans, they are prepared for a period of more than 5 years. So it basically focuses on the long term needs, as the financial needs and objectives of the organization, right? So it always emphasizes about the policies and programs which is related to the capital structure of the organization. I mean to say, what is the proportion of debt infused, what's the proportion of equity in the capital structure has been infused, and what's the distribution of the funds for long term investments, a scope for expansion and diversification. So this was all about the three types of financial plan. So in today's with this video I am going to now explain the principles of financial plan, or principles of sound financial planning. Sound is nothing but effective financial planning, again very important from exam viewpoint. All right, so let's take up with the point 1, simplicity. What does simplicity talk about? Simplicity is nothing but simple. See, a financial plan, what you prepare, it should be always simple, and it should be capable of being easily understood by everybody, which is who are concerned about them. In simple words, you as a financial planner, when you are coming up with a financial plan, make sure it is simple. Make sure it, whatever the plan you make up, it is where the other people, like even the layman, is in a position to understand it easily. Fine. So what's the objective? Why simplicity? Why your plan should be simple? It is simple. Simplicity ensures the understanding, the level of understanding, right? And it also ensures that they are implemented promptly, where it executes the promptness and the accuracy. Before a financial planner, he makes up this particular plan with respect to the funds, how it needs to be utilized. He has to first study the firm. He has to determine two factors. One is the nature of the firm, that is whether it is into manufacturing or else it is into service sector. Second one is your size of the company. Size talks about the capital which is attached with your nature, with your type of the company, right? So after studying only can come up with the plan, the financial planner. So always when you are going to take up with the financial plan, make sure it implements the promptness and the accuracy. So it is something like, to sum up with, see, a complicated financial plan, what does it do? It creates a lot of complications. It will lead to a lot of ambiguity. Ambiguity is nothing but confusion, right? So always make sure you, as a financial planner of the firm, you need to keep it simple. so that it should ensure the understanding, right? So the next principle, which is associated with financial planning is a clear cut objectives. What is clear cut objectives? Objectives is something that talks about the goals that the firm wants to achieve. It can be short term or it can be long term as well, or else both, fine. So always a financial planner, when he is coming up with a financial plan, he must make sure, he must be aware of the objectives, right? What's his mission, what's his mission of the organization, right? Where the financial planning, without reference to the objectives of the firm, it has no meaning or it doesn't have any relevance. So what's going to happen? See, financial planning, it should be done by keeping in view the overall objectives of the company. As I said, there are short term plus there are long term objectives, where a financial planner at the time of planning with the funds, with respect to the funds or the capital what he has obtained, he has to keep in mind the overall objectives of the company, and the objectives must be clear and unambiguous. It shouldn't lead to the confusion. As I said in the point 1, it should be simple to understand, right? Then it should be clear, there should be a clarity with the objectives. So such objectives, it should form the basis of financial planning. It is so because, like, ultimately the financial planning is done for what? To achieve the objectives of the firm. So always make sure your objectives is something like a foundation, right? So that should be strong, that should be, you should have a clarity with your objectives, fine. So the next step is flexibility. What is flexibility? A financial plan, it shouldn't be rigid, right? It should be flexible enough, like, what do I say, the capable of being adjusted, according to the needs and circumstances. Your plan shouldn't be rigid in nature. Based on the needs and circumstances, you should be able to, the financial planner, he should be able to, cope up with certain aspects based on your company's, need. That talks about flexibility. How flexibility is going to help for the firm? See, flexibility is helpful in making the changes in plan with the minimum possible delay, right? So flexibility is that which ensures, for you, for the financial planner, to make the changes in a plan with minimum possible delay. So this is one of the major principles of sound financial planning. Next up, what you have is a long term view. What does long term view talk about? See, the financial plan, it should be formulated keeping in view the long term needs of the organization. What's the need? And here I'm talking about the long term needs, which is more than 1 year. How you are going to formulate it, right? So you are going to keep in the view about the long term needs of the organization, rather than finding the easiest way of obtaining the, the original capital, right? So all organization, must focus on long term survival and growth. As I told you, there's a concept of going concern, there's a concept of perpetual succession. See, no organization is going to start its business with an intention to shut it tomorrow, to shut it in the coming year. No, they always, think about, having a sustainability in the prevailing competitive market, for which always you need to have a long term view. You should be able to, have a kind of foresight, right? You need to have it. So it is something like a planning is where which doesn't consider the future needs of the organization, right? That becomes the short sighted. Under long term view, always it keeps in the view of future requirements of, the capital which is required in the business. So this states about the term long term view.